Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, sometimes you've just gotta believe. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, influences, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things, I'm assuming you do because you're listening to us right now. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can find us over at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, basically wherever you get your podcasts. And plus, every single one of our episodes is archived over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. And if you could subscribe to us there too, that would be fantastic. Also, you can find us on social media, as the kids call it, as it were. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram at either at In the Seats or at It's Podcast One for all sorts of updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, video on demand, film festivals, basically anything that the moving image has to offer, because we love to write about it and talk about it, and we love it when you read about it and listen about it. So please come on by. This one we got a fun one. We are diving into the Arrow streaming service. If you haven't already checked out the Arrow video player, the Arrow streaming service, which is available on most devices, if I'm not mistaken. It gives us the world of cinema from Arrow Video and beyond, and every month they are releasing a brand new film, which will eventually come out on Blu-ray for all you hardcore Blu-ray physical media fanatics. But there's some interesting indie stuff coming on there, and Arrow is really curating a real fantastic lineup of independent cinema and horror and just some weird and fun shit, to be perfectly frank, which is what I think Threshold qualifies as, because that's the movie for this month, and it's a independent production, but it's the story of Leo when a phone call out of the blue brings him back into contact with his sister, who's been estranged from the family for years, and because of drug abuse. And when he ultimately gets to her apartment, he finds her in the throes of an overdose. Once all that sort of cleans up, she confides in him that she actually has been clean, but because of a very mysterious group. But he's cynical, and she's a little paranoid too. So he's not entirely convinced of what's going on, and the more and more she gets into it, the more and more he's convinced that his sister is a part of a cult. But they end up going on this road trip, which opens both their eyes a little bit as they discover a lot of different stuff, and Leo finds that even as he's sort of navigating his own demons, that maybe his sister Virginia was right, and there is some credence to these strange stories that he's telling her. And it's a fantastic piece of independent horror cinema, which I do recommend you check out. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with writer-directors Powell Robinson and Patrick Robert Young to talk about the film, their influences, and just sort of heading out onto the road in a road trip movie, because that's basically what this is. They shot this on their iPhones, and it shows the power of filmmaking, and it shows the power of being able to make something look really good on a pretty scant budget. If you want to check it out, I do recommend you go to the Arrow streaming service and sign up for a scant $4.99 a month, and they do have a 30-day free trial as well. But if you're a fan of the weird and the wild, this is definitely a service for you, much like Threshold is a movie for you. And I hope you enjoy a talk with the directors, because I certainly know that I did.
Excited to talk about ourselves.
I'm not going to have to twist your arm too much, am I? Okay. I mean, obviously, just to kick it off, man, congratulations on the film. I really dug it, because, I mean, lo-fi but still fucked up is kind of hard to achieve. Now, I guess my first question is, walk me through sort of the initial idea for the story.
Yeah, so I actually had the idea for this general story back in high school, over a decade ago. I had this idea for this short story. It's going to have this lesbian couple, and one of them took this black market drug called like physical marriage or something a high schooler would come up with. And it would connect you to, whoever you're with. And you'd feel whatever that person feels is what you feel. And it make all your sensories go insane, and you'd feel everything double time. Obviously something goes wrong and she loses whoever she gets connected to and has to go find them. I never wrote that short, but I always had the idea around. And after a few years of Powell and I getting anxious, not making a movie, we decided, hey, screw it. We want to do something, and we want to do it on the road. We want to have some fun with it. And so when we were looking at any ideas we had of road movies, this is the one that caught both of our eyes, that we knew we could make personal and do in the kind of manner that we could.
What is it about the road movie that really speaks to sort of indie filmmakers? Because is it that just sort of get out and go sort of mentality? Because I talk to so many people, and it always feels like the road movie seems to be sort of the easiest to make. What is it about sort of the road movie that sort of leans into the sort of the free thinking independent filmmaker spirit?
I think it's a mix of things. You're always told that, to make a cheap movie, you should do it in one location. Set your indie horror movie in one room, and like that's how you're going to get your movie done affordably. And that is one of the ways to do it. But I think the appeal of the road movie is that, if you're a small enough crew using small enough cameras, you can get away with a cheap movie that still looks big because of all the places you can go to. And if you're willing to rough it and steal them and shoot while you drive, I think it's just as achievable.
No one's applying for permits when you're in indie film.
Yeah, definitely not. We were just saw a cool spot and we grabbed it, and then we left before anyone could tell us to be not be there anymore.
On both a logistical and spiritual level, we didn't want to be in Los Angeles. You can't shoot like this in Los Angeles because everyone's aware of it, everyone's looking at it, everyone's in film, and so which means all the businesses are aware of it, which means they'll charge, and which is their right, but we couldn't afford that kind of thing. And also, part of our any excuse to get out of the place you live is nice.
So I guess the next question is, how do you cast for something like this? Is it just a question of trying to find actor friends willing to sort of go along for the ride, or do you sort of go through it and try to find the right people?
Well, we knew we wanted to work with Madison. Madison was one of the pieces that made us believe we could pull this off in the first place. And so we knew Lauren was going to produce, and we knew we would be on the crew. And so from there on out, it was all about auditioning and finding another actor that Madison was comfortable with, that we were all comfortable with, because we knew this was going to be somebody that, we would be sleeping in the same room as this person. We would be, living in a car with this person. With them 24/7. We had no space. And so finding that balance of, improv talent, trust, and generally liking them was what our casting process was about.
And we couldn't, so we got stuck with Joey. Joey was honestly the most magical final piece of the puzzle to come in right at the end. Maddie and Joey had been in acting classes together, and they'd known each other for a while, and the chemistry was just already there just because of their out of movie relationship. And on top of that, the audition itself, we could just see the way they bounced off of each other. It was just fun to watch, and we felt that other people would also find it fun to watch. It was just they had a really great rhythm when they were working together, and it translated so well to the movie itself.
Now, something about this film that I really love as well is, I don't think this gets enough credit sort of industry-wide, because like you'll see an independent horror movie, it'll be going along well, or a thriller or whatnot, and then it'll set itself up for like this one sort of effect shot, which looks terrible and then takes you out of the movie. You guys don't do that. How do you?
We tried. We thought about it. We set out on this road trip. We had a 23-page outline, no script. But that 23 pages did not include a third act. With us shooting chronologically, with us shooting improv, we thought and knew that where the movie needed to end up would be dictated how the characters behave. If we got 7 days into the shoot and by some chance it felt like the characters still hated each other, it would have a much different ending than what you see in the movie now.
Sure.
And so, we, in brainstorming things, we had all these thoughts like, what if we get to the end and, we try to really wow people, like a super Cthulhu and pink sky. Like no one would expect that from an iPhone movie. And then, we got to the end. You're like, well, we don't really need that in our iPhone movie.
Yeah, the characters are the whole central point, and the horror is not in a lot of ways. And as long as their arc comes to a good completion, I think the audience will be satisfied. But we wanted it, we like our horror, and we wanted to end with something spicy. So we knew we still had to complete the cult side of it too.
But I mean, also as a fan, I think I enjoy more like sort of the films that don't show it, that make you sort of imagine it. And I mean, I know you can chalk it down to just not having budget, but I mean, how important is it for you guys to be able to create something that gets the audience thinking as opposed to trying to hit them over the head with it?
I think that's everything. Our first movie was also, we got slammed on occasion because it was technically a slasher movie, but we spent a good 45 minutes with no one dying. It was all about the characters and how they got to where they were and what happens when you throw these different people that would normally just get killed off in a slasher into a bed and breakfast and explore what it's like to have these crazy people stuck in a bed and breakfast together before they die. And Threshold kind of was along the same vein, where we knew what our strengths were going to be going into it. It was going to be crafting a story that was about the people, and that's what we wanted people to be thinking about. We knew that's what we could accomplish on the budget, but also it's what we were interested in doing. Maybe Patrick can jump onto my slightly runaway train of thought there, but maybe not.
Yeah, you got it.
Great.
Because I mean, this kind of dovetails into something else I'd love to ask, because horror always seems to be the genre that you've got the most freedom in. You can do dramatic stuff, you can do emotionally layered stuff, but still in the next scene have, like you say, some big giant Cthulhu in a pink sky, or somebody being slashed to death with a butcher knife. Like it all will still work together. And I'm kind of curious, what is it from your perspectives about horror that sort of allows that kind of freedom to really sort of run the emotional gamut, as it were?
Because I definitely think people are, especially in horror, are just automatically in the mind frame that something otherworldly is going to happen. Like there's not a lot of, you watch an Annabelle movie, your suspension of disbelief, you've already bought it. Like you already have that from the audience. And so even if our movie here isn't, wall-to-wall horror, there's enough insinuations here, enough cult talk, enough weirdness that we knew we had, combined with, just being a low budget movie without, mega expectations on top of it. We had a lot of wiggle room there. And, I talk about this a lot. I actually talk about it on some of our Arrow extras. One of the things that I think draws so many people to horror is its empathetic abilities. You can simultaneously, to the max extreme, empathize with humans under the worst conditions, and also fear humans as they enact those worst conditions. No, I kind of went off in a weird direction, but yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, the implication going into any horror movie is that horrific things are going to happen. And, generally people are along for the ride, whether that means horrific supernatural, horrific slasher, or horrific emotionally. I think it's an open road, and anyone jumping into a horror movie has a base level of expectation that bad things will happen. And you're there to experience bad things happening to other people, whether or not it's to learn from, to get scared on purpose, or whatever your reason is for watching a horror movie. So it's, you have a lot of freedom to create bad situations for people, which is, I think, for whatever outcome you want. But I like that it's open-ended that way.
Yeah, no one's going into Friday the 13th really expecting a camp comedy. You know bad shit's going to happen when the kid's driving up to the camp.
And you either want the thrill of the death scenes, or you might find yourself in one of the characters along the way.
For sure. Now, I'm curious for both you guys, how is it to sort of have the stamp of approval to sort of be sort of with the Arrow family? Because I've got to imagine as horror filmmakers, it's one of those things to be like, oh shit, Arrow likes us? That's cool.
You can't see the video where my head just exploded, but yeah, it man.
Patrick, the second they started talking to us, I'm like, I don't care if they ask us to pay them to have like our own release. Like, we'll do it.
It's too late. It's already on. It's already on the service.
Yeah, don't tell them. It might kill us.
But yeah, I mean, it was validating on a lot of fronts, just because we knew that this movie was going to be weird and not necessarily straight horror, and we were really grateful that they saw that it could be both weird and have horror elements in it, and like not exactly adhere to certain genre things that might, it's basically just two people talking for an hour.
Yeah, we know that's not a lot of people, that's not most people's cup of tea. That's not generally what you think of when you think about horror. But Powell and I are very genre fluid filmmakers. We have no shame in mixing it all together in a giant pot. And Arrow has just been such a champion for weird, unique voices and visions. So to sort of have that validation, like there is an audience and there is a desire and for weirder things that not everyone's going to like, and that's okay.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I think something else about the film that really struck me is just for an iPhone movie, there is a lot of style to it. Like a lot of the shots look really great. And I'm kind of curious from your like thinking back for both of you, is there a movie or like a moment in your lives that sort of was the linchpin for you to go, I want to make films? Because I mean, I saw a lot of different stuff in this film as I was watching it. I'm kind of curious on your takes on that.
I don't know. I think it was more just exposure to different films in general, where I was kind of a weird kid and I was a quiet kid, and seeing so many different ways to make movies and so many different things being appreciated and put out there, I think made me realize I could probably tell something about myself, which I might not be comfortable doing in a normal way through that. I don't know if there's any specific movie. I loved The Matrix, because I just, at the time when it came out and I was a kid and probably shouldn't have seen it and saw it. But like, I blew my mind. I was like, I want to do something with people in wires. I want to have like cool gunfights, but that's the only standalone. I think in general, it was just seeing a medium where you could just be weird and that was okay.
I grew up believing I was going to be a novelist. I thought I was going to write books and teach for the rest of my life. And this may be a super typical white guy 90s answer, but it was watching Reservoir Dogs that made me think like, oh, I can start making my own movies. Like all you need is 5 guys in a room. Like I can just make a cool movie with like my friends and a camera in a room and like some ketchup. I mean, obviously Reservoir Dogs doesn't use ketchup and there's like a chase scene and whatever, but like the essence of it, like, oh, I can write stories that don't need much. Like it was seeing like, oh, my words can come to life if I let them. That's exactly how we tooled Threshold. We made a movie that we could make.
And I mean, with Threshold, I think for me in watching it, it almost felt like I was watching Ingmar Bergman make The Omen or something, because it like I just some of the shadows and the shots.
No, stop! No,
it felt really just. I just got into the atmosphere of it all so much, and it's just a fantastic film. And I just want to say thank you both for the time today, and congratulations again on the film, man. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And if you want to say that multiple times so we can print that on a t-shirt, that'd be great.
If Bergman made The Omen, you got it. Yeah. I'll give that quote to your publicist. It's done.
Awesome.
Thanks. Awesome.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Cool.
Thanks so much,
man.
David.
Bye. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.